the scent of old paper and disintegrating rain-soaked timbers filled the air around the long-abandoned Begunkodor railway station. Built in the early days of the British Raj, the station was a thing of beauty, now decayed and forgotten. Vines crept like grasping hands over the chipped stone walls, desperately clinging as if to pull it back into the earth. The roots began to reclaim the platform, cracking it slowly, persistently. The death of the station master in this musty, shadow-laden haven. The story begins with the icy dawn of 1966. Station master Arjun exploded into public folklore when his vacant, glassy-eyed corpse was found sprawled on the platform. The villagers whispered about that night. He had been heard babbling about a woman clad in white, gliding effortlessly along the tracks, her presence marked by an oppressive silence. They say bat wings flapped ominously in the thick, foggy air, howling like hunters grasping for the hapless sunrise. Witnesses mentioned that trains started derailing frequently, their gleaming carriages crumpling like paper toys. Yet investigations always ended inconclusively, as though erased by invisible hands. Station master Arjun's death was ruled an accident, though no one believed it, for fear silences even the bravest hearts. Years passed, yet the spectre lingered. Begunkodor's local trains rumbled through the nearby stretch of land, but they avoided the station whenever possible, fearful of the unsettling presence. The villagers of Begunkodor, welded together by generational tales of the spectral woman, had all but ceased to venture towards the station. The legend lives. Even those who didn't believe the stories couldn't ignore their creeping effect. Ashok, a daring young man with a fascination for the macabre, decided that he would brave the haunted station to uncover the truth. Ashok's friends, under hushed admonitions, anxiously eyed him as he planned his expedition under the brooding monsoon clouds. That evening, as darkness spilled through the village huts like an unwelcome visitor, Ashok made his way toward the station. He noticed the village dogs, their hackles raised, barking as though warning of unseen danger. Their cries echoed beneath the thick, clouded sky where thunder growled softly, stretching shadows across the land like creeping phantoms. It was time for him to test the boundaries between legend and the overwhelming fear that latched onto his conscience like a shadow. Ashok shivered as he stepped cautiously onto the platform, the cold stones chilling his feet through his worn sandals. The evening air hung thick, each breath like swallowing lead. The railway station exhaled a twilight sigh, releasing a chorus of whispered warnings into the night. The first night vigil, the shadows thickened as he lit his kerosene lamp, its flickering light trembling against the widening darkness. His heart pounded a rhythm of doubt as he explored, the station work whispers rattling in the corners of his mind like vague echoes. With midnight approaching, the air turned frigid, and an unnatural stillness settled into his bones. Tension hung like a guillotine, sharpening fear and heightening senses. Suddenly, Wind swept through with ferocious intent, and soon he saw her, the spectral figure of the woman in white, her saree billowing like an unspoken omen. Ashok stood frozen, the lamp's light in a silent dance, flickering wildly as her visage bore down upon him. Her eyes were voids, absorbing the lamp's glow, reflecting only desperation. As she glided along the tracks, the chasms of her eyes found his, holding him in a moment of endless night. Then the shadows unfurled, and she vanished into them, leaving him alone with racing pulse and fleeting sanity. Ashok stumbled back into the village at dawn, face pale, heart weighed by an experience he could barely comprehend, but couldn't forget. Word spread half-whispered, more stories piled upon old legends, the descriptions freshly breathed by Ashok mismatched with past encounters, creating a swirling tapestry of stories. Repercussions. The villagers, fueled by his tale, sought counsel from sage Ghana, an old man filled with stories of lives past. He leaned heavily on his walking stick, carved from ancient neem, its handle worn smooth through generations. It's not just what you see, Ghana spoke in riddles and truth. It's what she chooses to show. He nodded emphatically, as though to himself, his eyes piercing through collective disbelief. Fear hung thicker than the monsoon rains that lashed the village, the legend now given flesh once more in community memory. Begunkodor's boundaries closed tighter, tighter. Unease continued its relentless crawl across the town, a fabric of intertwined lives now compatibly tangled with fear. Ashok's expedition had cracked open old vaults of memory, and as the station sat undisturbed, its phantoms stirred restlessly, as if yearning to be part of the village's rhythm of day and night. Days spiraled into a rhythmic beat of inactivity, rooted in caution. Begunkodor's inhabitants felt the station's pull, its truth submerged in ominous silence. Meanwhile, Ashok turned his attention to the forest, probing stories that said she had come from its depths, a lupin spirit hiding sorrow behind mimicry. From shadows, with quiet determination, Ashok searched the forest at twilight, when the world hung delicately between light and shadow. Low, clutching branches caught at his clothes, as seasonal leaves crunched underfoot with every step. Here, time seemed to stand still, each moment stretching, prolonging the veil between reality and the absurd. The air grew cold and stilled. A presence lingered just beyond the tangible, its intangible fingers brushing against his skin like strands of invisible silk. The crackling of what remained of leaves whispered secrets of long ago, urging him to tread carefully. In the deepest recess, he found it, an old ruin swallowed by time, monument to forgotten memories. A platform similar to the station itself was hidden beneath layers of creeping vegetation. Insignias unfamiliar, yet resonating, twined with the stone. Perhaps some history buried its ghosts here, intriguing Ashok with an alternate story, one his heart said might unearth all. In the hidden sanctum of the forest, A shock grasped tangible eons. Old beauty, spirited into mystery. He returned to Begunkodor with purposefully shadowed eyes, resolved to venture this time deeper, paths untrodden. Ashok shared his discovery with Ghana, the oracle of untold lore. Ghana nodded knowingly, though his smile turned grim, for to know the beyond summoned both understanding and danger. In hushed tones, Ghana narrated stories of the abodes of nature's spirits mingling with humanity, a dangerous union that whispers about planted roots and offers a restless twilight balance, the culmination where spirits cross into Niculic, the blend of life beyond. Ashok listened carefully, absorbing every detail as if it were air. Yet the questions burrowed deeper than answers, raising spirits to beckon him once more. As night settled, Ashok stepped onto the cracked platform of Begunkodor railway station again. Yet, as layers of the world peeled away, he prayed silently for strength against unspeakable thinness between life and unlife. Mist coiled around its pillars, fog danced like candlelight. The station breathed again with the whisper of ancient woods. Through nights unknown, each visit a shock laid tender feet upon the station's echoing heart. The spectral woman visited him, ephemeral yet vivid. Their existential dance of silence held neither threat nor comfort as she portrayed anew her tale to him. Each story woven, the spectral woman raised memories rather than shade. She occupied Begunkodor not as a warning, but an eternal acknowledgement for reality wanes. Yet memories persist as echoes of bygone eras. Ashok deciphered the symbols from forest ruins, piecing together her life, fragmented by time, made whole by stories read atop weeping rails. Names, unfamiliar yet cherished, synchronized within him like forgotten melodies of an ancient aria consumed by generations. Her tale twisted, looped back upon itself, yearning for coherence it never found, longed for rest denied by voices obscure, different, bound together with chains unseen in a cycle of obeisance to what was once flesh. She appeared each eve, always just before morning's threshold, and Ashok felt compelled to learn secrets lost to mortal comprehension. The cycle continued, the narrative unspooling between reality's layers, until the present folded seamlessly into past's embrace. Memories endless, like trawling winds. As his visits promised understanding, they also beckoned threads of danger unseen. Whispers of the unseen. One night, Ashok, fortified by understanding, lulled by legends, sensed shifts in fog, unbidden hushed admissions clambered beyond his control. Friction built, not unlike gusts before a ferocious downpour, an ancient rhythm uprooted from ancient whispers, problematic realities colliding upon fragmented rails. A murmuring in accordance with ritual probed deep into Ashok's senses. He turned, hypnotized by ethereal linings, materialized vividly within living shadows, a realm Artopple considered beyond. The spectral woman's presence became increasingly strained, haunted by her leaden essence, swaying like pendulum weights, each aching breath more labored than before. Ashok felt her sorrow hit him like firmament punishments, woven into sunsets, disrupted by mortal night. Mysteries unravel with catharsis, relentlessly weaving through unexplained layers, mutable like impalpable winds. The spectral woman stood centered, forced to align all her stories, every piece of memory she bestowed unto Ashok, to create unity from chaos. Threads gather, sudden understanding fell upon him like the waterfall he could hear, yet not see. All sounds warped, mortified sirens returning. Past and present coexist in Begunkodor, an ill-fated woman who never understood boundaries defined or forgotten. An ebbing presence, testing limits of names, expanded beyond self. The ghost voice united, vocalized its plea spanning distances between known and unknown, searching for release amid fabric of spirits. Amidst, Ashok heard its raw cry, emotional bridges constructed over broken thresholds, contested eternally lingered, pulled on heart's crescent. Soulful reverberations, unending resonance collided upon their closing tableau. For the woman now became more than grief, image, or semblance. Begunkodor lay suspended, an interstice of memory, realms breaching chaos to harmony. Ashok stood gasping realization, quintessential moments confronted him grandly. Harmony realized, he spun, drawn deeply into consolation, murmured in stillness, embrace. Years awaited quietly, unison achieved through lifelines unsaid. Resolution shimmered as hues of dusk, dissolved night into day, Begunkodor's tapestry woven anew upon unraveling rails. Shadows lifting, spectral threads detailing landscapes afresh, reluctant steps, admitted clocks synchronize, bounding through time's tapestry akin to legends celebrated in spirited recesses ample. The ghost transformed a buried history, told before reappraisal into song heard, amidst stones, weathered from nothingness to music made whole.